We already are paying for those bags, be those plastic or paper. We're really bearing the cost of that. It's built into the profit margins of the stores. So I think this is something we really need to step up and do. We need to see what these ordinances would look like, and then go forward. And by then we'll have other input from the Santa Monica situation, and I think we can trust that council will look diligently at the legal ramifications of this. And I think we need to, Mendocino really needs to take a stand. I think it's also appropriate that the county lead with this with the cities. I don't think we should leave the cities out there alone on this. And the cities have actually been asking, and I asked that this be put on the agenda some time ago. They're saying, when is the county going to look at this? We've already looked at it. So I think it's important that the county step up and be a partner with the process, so hopefully the cities and the county can come up with one ordinance that we all can embrace, and we'll all compromise on some aspects of it. But I think it's time that we from a public policy perspective, take a stand on this in Mendocino County. I think it's what is expected of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Delbar.
First of all, a question for council. Mr. Sweeney stated that the Oakland lawsuit hasn't been determined. Is that, I assume that's accurate?
Yeah, I haven't received word on any conclusion at this point.
Okay, so if such an ordinance is already in legal uncertainty, I'm not too keen on having you spend time drafting something that may also end us up in another lawsuit. We've got enough of those already. We don't necessarily need more. AB 2449 took effect on excuse me, July 1st of last year, so it's about 7-8 months ago. And that required all the grocery and other retailers providing plastic bags to implement at-store recycling programs. Have we had results from that yet? Do we know how well that's working? It's only been 7 months, 8 months, but do we have any preliminary results from that?
The industry states that there has been an increase in plastic bag recycling at their drop-offs, but that it is still only a very small fraction of the total bags are recovered that way.
What I'm looking at here is a cost difference, and I assume that the data here is accurate, that's presented to us, of at least 5 to 10 times more than the plastic bag. Now, true, as consumers, we're paying for that, but we're paying one cost or paying a cost that's 5 to 10 times, at least 10 times higher as a consumer if we take away that choice. And that translates to the cost of the goods and services. And it translates to the cost of the goods and services to people who can least afford it. And the Santa Monica approach exacerbates that impact. It's an elitist approach, and I do not support that at all. Absolutely don't support it. Folks are already having a hard enough time trying to buy food, and to be adding to that cost, to me, this makes absolutely no sense. Why focus on the big chains? Because a plastic bag is a plastic bag. When is it not? And as was brought up earlier, whether it's a plastic bag that your auto parts go in, or your dry cleaning goes in, or your daily newspaper goes in, or the vegetables go in, it's all plastic bag. It's the same problem, whether that's a Walmart, whether that's Joe's grocery store down on the corner. It's still a plastic bag, so why discriminate? You know, where do we stop that? I think that the comments by my colleagues about education and outreach are appropriate. That's where we need to be. You have a state law that went into place a bare 7 months ago. Let's see how that works. Let's focus on education and outreach to the folks of this county. This is a very alert and aware county of the issues. Let the consumers take a look at that. The vendors have a choice, and that choice is driven by consumer demand. The consumers are pretty smart folks, and if they see that there's other choices out there that they take advantage of, they'll do that, and the vendors will react to it. But I, too, take the creation of a new law pretty seriously. And what I'm seeing here today has a lot of questions that are unanswered for me, and it impacts to folks that I believe can least afford it. Let's let the consumers drive this, and let's drive the education side of it and help them from that standpoint. But I'm not prepared to support going forward with staff on an ordinance that may land this in court again. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Pinches.
A couple of quick comments. First of all, the cities, since when do the cities ever wait for the county to follow them? I mean, the cities have the ability to adopt an ordinance. And every retailer in this county has the ability right now to do away with any or all of their plastic bags. They have that option right now. Nobody's keeping them for it. But I really think that in light, the recent law change and everything, I'm not convinced that we've done everything we can to educate. First of all, when you look at the big picture of plastic, something that always gripes me up in my district is the amount of plastic bags and plastic pipe that gets in our streams and waterways from the marijuana production. There's probably 10 times more poundage in plastic bags used for that than ever goes out of a grocery store in groceries. And so we need to, if we're going to look at the plastic bags and plastic, let's look at the big picture. But I really think that we need to start with a more aggressive educational program in the county, because I think we can do a lot better job. And frankly, I'm going to look for MSWA to be the lead in that department.
Okay, to the board, where does that leave us on action before this item? Supervisor.
Mr. Chairman, the other constituencies and members of the MSWA have asked that we consider this, and I feel obliged as a member of MSWA, and I also support it personally, that we accept the recommended motion, recognizing that we are endorsing the proposed ban and directing county staff to draft an ordinance affecting said ban. I think that's where the details may, when worked out and addressed, will allay some of the concerns here about the effectiveness, magnitude, legality, and so forth of some of this. So I do not see it as contradicting in any direct way, but in fact being supplementary to the discussion that has taken place here this afternoon or this morning. And that is that we give council direction, as indicated, the recommended motion, endorse the proposed ban on plastic carryout bags in Mendocino County, and direct county staff to draft an ordinance affecting the said ban. Once the ordinance is drafted, we will have an opportunity to review it. If these concerns are still outstanding, if I have problems with it, and other members of the board have problems with it, we'll have an opportunity to express them and try to mobilize support for or against whatever points of view we have. So this is not an end-all thing, but I think it's a step in the right direction. And it is perhaps we're making too much of it. It is essentially a baby step. And I think we can be bold enough to take that baby step at this time and support the other jurisdictions as well in the process.
Okay, so that's a motion before us. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Comments to the motion?
I won't support that motion because I'm not saying I wouldn't in the future, but I think we need to do a little more education on this issue. Chairman Wattenberger brings up the good point about what, sometimes the best way to solve a problem is look and see what our neighbors are doing. And, the idea of biodegradable is something that we need to explore. Maybe instead of a ban on plastics, having a certain day, say maybe 3 years from now, where it'll be mandatory to use all biodegradable plastic bags, period, in this county. Maybe that's a good issue. But I just think it's too soon to jump out there with another law, in light of the recent state law that went into effect on as far as recycling. So I think it's a little bit premature there.
Supervisor.
If I can respond to my fellow member of MSWA, I would just